And my answer has always been integrity, grit, and follow up, follow through, follow back. Just being relentless on standards of excellence and following through, doing the things that you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do them will lead to repeat business. Technology should be something that amplifies the things that you're already good at. We don't believe that removing humans from the process entirely is the answer. It's realizing that over automating is something that's counterintuitive to getting to the goal. And it is about that human AI partnership.
Coyne, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm looking forward to this. We're going to have a blast. But some of you listeners may not know of the illustrious and great and magnificent Coyne. So for those uneducated, why don't you give a little background as to who you are?
Oh, gee, who are any of us really, right? I'm just as traumatized and damaged by being alive as the rest of you. My name is Ryan Coyne. I go by Coyne universally because my wife calls me babe, my kids call me dad, and I have an adopted older brother with the name Brian with a B. And I just so happen to work for, the most famous real estate agent in the world by the name of Ryan Serhant. So I go by Coyne, and now I'm like Madonna or Bono or Beyonce, right? Or Adele, one of those one name people. It's pretty cool.
Good place to be.
And I've been the chief technology officer since co-founding Serhant back on September 15th, 2020. And I've been with Ryan for about 10 years. Been in the room for all kinds of fun stuff and decisions and all the trials and tribulations, the successes, the defeats. And I've been very fortunate to have had a kind of a long and winding career through technology since becoming very avid with it young. That prepared me for being the CTO of a company that's this dynamic because I had clients in different spaces that span across all the different divisions of who we are. And I have a big passion for people, and we're a very public-facing business.
I love it. So let's just jump straight into the middle there. Obviously, Serhant's very big name. You guys do real estate. Technology and real estate, typically you think of a startup of a Zillow or a Redfin or I don't know, some other type of tech platform, but you guys are not necessarily that. What's the role of technology been within Serhant over the past decade?
It's to push the envelope of what makes a better brokerage and what enhances an agent's efficacy, right? Not just about how we can scale our different divisions internally, which that's a big one. We were early to like AI cataloging of our media. We have over a petabyte of video from just the last 4.5 years. We were early to making sure that hybrid work and work from home was something that was seamless. We were benefited by being born in the cloud because our company was founded in 2020. We don't have an on-prem infrastructure. Everything is, as long as you got a fast computer and a fast internet connection to sail or by, you're going to be okay. But the technology in terms of, you ask most agents like what their CRM is, what their favorite one is. Most of them will just hold up their phone, and they'll point to their brain or whatever it is. And it hasn't been only about the tools. I think what made a huge impact on me was that, you can't, I've been like Jarvis for Iron Man for a long time in terms of Ryan needed something tech. And I'd be like, yes, so the suit's hull integrity is at 64%, whatever it is.
Always with the accent, of course, right?
Totally. It's very important. It's not Jarvis without the accent. So people asked me, what do I need to do to either be Ryan Serhant, be more like him, work with him, or be some kind of eligible for his respect? A lot of people just want to be like seen, right? And they develop these parasocial relationships to the people that inspire them or a celebrity like him in the space or whatever it is. And my answer has always been integrity, grit, and follow up, follow through, follow back. Just being relentless on standards of excellence and following through, doing the things that you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do them will lead to repeat business. It helps to have a good short-term and long-term memory. Ryan can tell you details about any deal he's ever done, going back to the first rentals in Koreatown that he ever did. But ultimately, the technology and the tools have not made him and have not made most of the top salespeople I ever consulted, even before I was full time with him when the company was founded. It's really about those mental disciplines. Technology should be something that amplifies the things that you're already good at. If you're great at working with and talking to people, then technologies that help you talk to more people and get your message out or enhance the quality of it, or are able to take personality insights and different kinds of data points that will make the message have a higher level of efficacy, are very powerful for you. If you're somebody who's shyer and you're more meticulous, you have more of a steady or conscientious kind of personality, and you're somebody who's more in the weeds with infrastructure, then technologies that will help you stay organized and not let things fall through the cracks to maximize every opportunity might be something that you want to harness. So ultimately, the role of technology has been whatever we set as a bold goal for the company, whatever initiative it was, try almost like you hire slow, fire fast when it comes to staff. We would try to vet a solution as thoroughly as we could, and then swap it for the next solution if that wasn't good, in a very similar way, because we might end up in a situation where, like the American Cancer Society chose Ryan to be the representative to them in a Serhant Wears Pink campaign a year or two ago. And on very short notice, we needed to work with the American Cancer Society to develop, a quick site and a quick URL and some marketing integrations and UTM tracking, stuff like that for a one-off campaign. It could be something like we have a new TV show coming out and we need to, or we have a commercial. That was a wild thing. We had a commercial to run on TV, on national TV. I had never uploaded a commercial before to something that actually like goes satellite to satellite, so something can get broadcast. So you end up in these scenarios where technology plays a part in whatever ambitious thing that you're in the middle of doing. So I think that overall agility is kind of the moral of that story, is that you don't want to create too much technology debt for yourself so that you can rapidly deploy whatever technology you need to in the moment, and not be slowed down by whatever debt you've created for yourself in the past. Because essentially, technology for us as a company and in this industry is a launch pad for ideas and initiatives. And you got to be ready to just adopt whatever it is that will help you.
Yeah, I think that's a really refreshing perspective too. I have a big network of tech entrepreneurs and tech founders and kind of earlier stage startup technologists, and there's often this kind of focus on the technology is the product, it is the solution, it is the platform. And so there's kind of this over indexing and this over emphasis on needing more features, more capabilities, more polish, more whatever. And so looking at Serhant Realty, which is a massive business, and thinking about or listening to how you apply technology to be an enablement of the people and the agents to do better work, do more work, to kind of tap in their core strengths, but then also not getting overly married to any one system, any one tool, any one platform that you've built. It's kind of this, like you said, agility, this agile mindset of saying, okay, we have a problem or we have a thing that we want to improve. We're going to build or leverage some technology to make that better. But then also the minute that stops becoming useful or relevant, or maybe there's something else we need to explore, don't get married to any one tool, any one stack, any one problem, any one solution. Just keep kind of iterating and pushing forward, which I think is how you get and you maintain relevancy in an ever evolving technical world.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, when Ryan and I sat down in 2019 and 2020 to really be planning it out as far as what we were going to do, we said, how are we going to beat our biggest competitor that has crazy years on us and additional funding and different all kinds of stuff. And we were bootstrapping, and I said to him, by outsmarting them, not outspending them. They chose to have 19 kids and counting. They built everything themselves. That is extremely freaking expensive. I don't know if we're allowed to swear on your podcast, but yeah,
swear away. Fuck
it's
yeah.
extremely fucking expensive to have all those children. And I don't think that we should build what already exists. I think that integration is the future. This is 5 years ago. Integration wasn't new. things like Integromat and Zapier and all different kinds of stuff, and Appify, all kinds of stuff where, there were established players in the space. But I thought, let's focus on what can we do to actually improve the lives of agents that doesn't already exist. Because Henry Ford, one of my favorite quotes is, if we had asked people what they had actually wanted, they would have said faster horses. Right? They wouldn't have asked for the automobile.
People don't
And
know the solution that they actually want.
totally. And both debates have merit in terms of, you want to take these moonshots, right? Google, one of their, was it Facebook or Google? One of the big tech companies, they actually have like one of their divisions is called like Moonshot. Oh, it's Google. It's Moonshot X or whatever it's called, for these big, bold ideas. Like DARPA works on things like invisible shoot through self healing armor for soldiers is like one of the DARPA initiatives and stuff. It's like wild, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 6 type of stuff. So for us, what is that for real estate? Does it mean just burying people in screen after screen after screen and building an endless parade of apps? No. I can tell you, I'm 37. I've been helping real estate agents for 21 years, since 16 years old. The last thing they want, when they already have an average of between 40 and 60 passwords to be able to perform their role, is another one, even if you SSO it. They don't want another screen. Don't give me another app or another tool. Remember everybody's reaction when Threads was popular for 6 minutes was, oh my God, not another one that I need to curate and pay attention to. People feel like that in this industry because there's an I at the beginning of independent contractor. It's all about them. Okay, that's our customer. The only two industries that call their customers users are tech companies and drug dealers. Okay, and I'm not trying to treat my customers like like drug dealers would or other big tech companies would. So what can we do to actually meaningfully improve their life is to take integration and automation, elevate, not to sound like Adam Newman, but to elevate the consciousness. So they're focusing on their customers and their clients and not feeling guilty or shamed for not being buried in another training or another app or another tool, because we're able to automate things that nobody ever thought to automate before.
I think the thing that comes with that too is there's kind of this I don't know if it's undercurrent or not really talked about aspect of technology, which is ego. I think all industries have it, right? It's innate in humanity. But with technology, you think of kind of maybe the more quiet person in the corner that's building code and maybe less social. So you don't think of ego in the same way. But I know plenty of quiet souls that have very big egos when it comes to technology. And there's a certain amount of, I put my stamp on the world of, I built this custom software. We built this from scratch. I can make it do anything that fills an egoistic aspect of the creator. But if you are truly trying to focus on solving problems and creating value for your end customer, which in your case is real estate agents, then more tools or more custom tools is not necessarily the best approach. Perhaps it is leveraging what's already out there, stitching it together and making it integrated and more seamless for them.
Elijah, has Apple been the same since Steve?
No.
Why? Why is that? Is it because he didn't leave a 5-year plan? We know he did. Is it because a lot of the talent and a lot of the spirit of what he stands for is in the walls? We know it is. Do we know that Apple largely is still Apple in a lot of ways, but the person who was obsessed with the customer experience in a way like nobody else was chose apple juice.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been the same. I would rather stand the test of time that I'm not allowed to actually put it on the record anywhere. Like HR won't let me. They said by no circumstances. But my official customer service policy is that every interaction has to be so good it makes you crave a cigarette afterward.
Yeah.
Unofficial customer service policy.
Yeah.
Everybody in the tech divisions that I run, that's where you can make the difference. Humans are the moat. Humans are the moat. What separates this restaurant from that restaurant? You can cook the same food with the same ingredients. It's going to be that hospitality. Why do restaurants and like spas and hotels and stuff use the word hospitality? It's because it's designed to nourish you and get you well. Patch up whatever hole is in you, whether it's in the hospital,
Emotional
it
or
might be a
physical.
bullet wound, could be an emotional one, or something that you're just not fulfilled or satisfied by before you had that ratatouille moment with that, you know.
Yeah.
That I would rather that we focus on what will actually make people's lives better and take pride in the fact that nobody can perform that to the level of obsession with detail and customer service that we can, because so many technologies can be cloned. Yeah, there was a major ruling I just saw. A judge ruled for the first time that in one of the circuits that you can actually go after foreign entities for patent stuff more broadly than you were ever able to before for infringement, in a way that kind of combats a little bit of the you can just knock off whatever and it's hard to go after people overseas. That's getting easier now. You're going to see, because of AI, because of a million things that are just getting easier and easier, you no longer need a huge code team in several years to throw together a prototype. Give me 3 hours in cursor.ai, you know, and a Vercel instance. I mean, like how quickly you can throw together a prototype now, that the customer service adherence is everything. We see it time and time again. When companies get rid of people,
So let's like double click on that, because I think in the broadest sense of, if we look at like the current way in which humanity is viewing I think 90% of people are saying they're coming for our jobs. We're going to be replaced. Like, this is bad. It's interesting. It's cool. It's crazy. But that there's some amount of fear wrapped up in AI and technology replacing humans. So, one of the things that you kind of touched on is the impact, at least with Serhant, and also your opinion around technology, is the differentiator is that human element, that customer experience, that customer support, that human connection. So, I also know that you're a fan of AI. So where does that kind of come into play of AI is this tool that we now have, right? This new paradigm of AI, and it is going to be integrated in some aspect into most of technology moving forward. But then you're balancing that with, you run a large team, right? You have technology supporting hundreds of agents. I don't know how big you guys are, but I assume hundreds. And you also are not trying to replace them. You're trying to support and enhance them. So what is the role of AI in an established company like Serhant?
is that everybody can focus on highest and best use. That's the most succinct way I can put it. The world's most gifted artist, if they're spending time cleaning their paintbrushes instead of painting, that's a waste. I view it the same exact way. Every time a salesperson is sitting at a computer spending hours on admin time instead of deepening their client relationships, which, don't get it twisted. Like, just speaking about the salespeople for a second, they get off on their personalized relationships with their clients. In fact, their actual personal relationships are usually unhealthy because they're spending so many hours a day as part of being a salesperson, that some of the fulfillment comes from how deep those relationships get. Like,
And that
my
relentless
funeral is going to be,
obsession aspect that you talked
yeah,
about. Yeah.
my funeral is going to be fucking packed with the relationships that I've formed in business, where people feel like I really poured into their well-being. And part of me takes that as a trade-off for the time I haven't spent with my kids and my wife, as a purposeful life well lived, and I do my best to balance it. A lot of people aren't willing to say that out loud, but I think that a lot of salespeople, it's like the thrill of the chase. It's like, what's the
Yeah.
next white whale? They're Ahab out there just ready to harpoon whatever person says they need a house. Or, we have an education division where there's a piano salesperson who's a pro member who gets pro coaching for selling luxury pianos. It's wild stuff. So what can AI do? It can make sure that they're focusing on that. It can make sure that our amazing, world-class, talented staff is not drowning, is not begging for more people to just dump those things on that their plates are overfilled with. It's that we're finding efficiencies and finding ways for them to be at their highest and best use. We have some of the most creative people in the world that it used to break my heart when I would speak to our creative director and I would say, hey, what are you up to? And they'd say, oh, I'm doing this. It's taking me hours. And I'd be like, I would have loved to just snap my fingers and automate that for you. So you could be doing what you want to do, which is create, which is be creative, you know? And sometimes, like, why do artists go to museums? It's to feel inspired and to feel connected to what they're passionate about. AI is doing the same thing for a lot of people. Is it plays a role because 50% of people would prefer to edit an existing document than create one from scratch. You know, there's two kinds of people in the world: people who separate people into two groups and ones who don't. I'm just kidding, but there's a role for it to play in efficiency, inspiration, and highest and best use. I wonder what humanity would be capable of if we focused more on our commonalities and less on our differences, supported technologies that can solve really, really complicated socioeconomic, sociological, psychological, climatological, you know, everything. And actually, we're focused on the betterment. It's why I like Star Trek, man. It's all focused on exploration, discovery, and the betterment of humanity. That's what I look forward to with AI. How can we
Human
get
alignment.
better at how much humans currently suck and how much being at work sucks for a lot of. I love my job. I also know there's a lot of people out there in the world who do not love their job.
And even if you do love your job, there are always aspects of it that you don't like. I mean, you were talking about salespeople, and I think one of the classic examples for the salespeople is working with the clients, and I love the relationships and the phone calls, but then I have to go to the CRM and I have to log this information. And it distracts, it deflates, it's a negative, it's an energy withdrawal from your overall energy. And so I am absolutely an AI optimist. And I do think, kind of to your description, it is that lower level aspect where it can sweep out a lot of that stuff that people, no one really enjoys that stuff, right? And people can then focus on what is actually more fulfilling. And there is always some collateral damage when new technology shows up. There are people
Yeah.
that it does impact and it's a shift. But I think net, it is going to free up people to focus on highest and best use.
Yeah. I mean, the printing press didn't put writers out of a job, just got scribes, but they shifted to becoming, creators in different ways. They worked at printing presses. The loom didn't put clothiers out of business either. You ever watch that, like the Business Insider Why So Expensive series on YouTube? It's one of my favorites. If you're watching this, go look up Business and not finish this podcast, but then go watch the Business Insider Why So Expensive series. Like these $2,000 Japanese denim jeans that they're still using looms that were made like in Germany in the 1970s, and only like 6 of the machines still exist, and there's one guy who knows how to fix them. COBOL, the programming language, is crazy in demand because they still need people who know how to maintain like nuclear missile silos. And Japan just made an initiative last year to finally stop using floppy disks. I don't mean the little ones. I mean the big fuckers, the 5.25s. Dude, there is so much potential for being able to drag all of society into the future with this. And I think that there are white collar workers that are having some of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that you were talking about earlier, the same way that the blue collar workers did, the day that the robots showed up, that we got so cutesy in love with those robots that they're fucking bartenders on some of those cruise ships now. Okay. Meanwhile, the blue collar workers that were feeling threatened and it felt super safe to be in a white collar job or to learn to code. How many years did we absolutely sledgehammer it into everybody's head that you need to learn to code? That's the safest job for the future. Oops.
Got that one wrong.
Oops. Yeah. I mean, so it's going to mean that just like we are constantly asking the question, how can we pivot and change and think about the business of 3 and 10 years from now? How do we make sure that we stay valuable as a brokerage to justify having our salespeople at this brokerage? How do we stay valuable and justify that we as humans earn the right to continue being better than what the bots can deliver? Those are the questions everybody should be asking: is what are your skills that separate you from something that is automatable, or even if it is automatable to an extent, what are you bringing to the table that is going to retain that your humanity is superior. You know. Yeah.
So you pose some of the questions as it relates to the individual. You pose some of the questions from a conceptual perspective of a business. How are you applying it directly within Serhant? Do you have an example of this is how we're thinking about, or we're taking these questions, we're breaking them down, and then this is what we're building or what we're doing? And the reason I ask is because I have a lot of conversations with companies where it's kind of the opposite of the FUD, right? Fear, uncertainty, doubt. It's the maybe the FOMO of like, or anxiety of, I know I should be doing something. I know I should be doing something with AI. Should I make a chatbot for customer support? Should I make a chatbot for answering internal processes? And that's kind of where the first, conversations go. But it's
First
kind
level,
of,
level one.
yeah, level one. At least you're doing something. But kind of transitioning that into how can you actually have a meaningful impact within a company that exists, not a brand new startup that's trying to change the world and build a new technology, but a company that is established. How do you take those principles and put it to use and say, okay, well, we're trying this project out, or we're trying this out, or we're building this, or we're doing this, and this is how we test it. This is our framework for doing that evaluation.
Yeah, well, for us, that's why we're building Serhant Simple. That's something we even had a press release that came out this morning about it. We think of it, just to stick with the kitchen
And what
analogy.
is it for anyone who doesn't know it?
Yeah. We think of it to use the kitchen analogy. There are recipes for how you perform your work, right? You know what the ingredients are. Maybe it's your computer, maybe it's this app, or maybe it's this tool or this method, right? And it's a repeatable thing that you do, and it ends up with a certain kind of outcome, maybe with some wrinkles in it for different kinds of assignments. Real estate agents perform a lot of repetitive tasks and a lot of repetitive work. Some of it, they're under the impression that it's required to be done by a human, and we're just being bolder to ask, does the entire thing need to be done by a human? Right? Elon Musk had this example that I read in his biography, that when they were building the Model 3, they had 1,200 robots on the assembly line for the Model 3, and they were only churning out like 3,000, per day, or whatever it was that they needed to be, and production was going too slow. So they actually started monitoring the efficacy of some of the robots, and one of the robots was running out of a certain part, and it didn't have the ability to look around for where the additional parts were, go get the parts, and continue what it was doing. Production had stopped at that bot. So Elon actually walked up and down the assembly line with a can of orange spray paint wherever he saw that the robots were being less effective than less expeditious than a human could do it, and with orange spray paint and X, and have that robot removed and put a human in that could do it faster. That isn't why we did it, but it's a good analogy that we don't believe that removing humans from the process entirely is the answer. So I think that for us, it's realizing that over automating and over removing humans from the process is something that's counterintuitive to getting to the goal. And it is about that human AI partnership. So for us, having really, really super quickly developed a process where the work that normally would take a human 3 or 4 hours is largely automated, as long as there are human steps, where humans are tools in the toolkit, where they are able to quality assure, and tweak and adjust, and put their own judgment and common sense and their real estate expertise into the process, is very important. Some preferences and some interaction types and some secret sauce is always just going to be that humans are part of it. So for us, Serhant Simple, it's an app that agents can use that essentially redefines whether they want to work or not, how much they want to delegate confidently to our advisors that operate Serhant Simple, and the different ways that they've got mastery over the latest and greatest AI tools to be able to do things more quickly, without saying too much that's proprietary or kind of protected right this minute. It's something that turns whether or not you're going to work into a choice, so that you can focus more on your clients and not on that admin stuff. It's a revolution in how real estate salespeople perform the business of real estate, and whether or not they want to be bogged down. That's officially a choice that we've made for them, or only available to Serhant agents.
The two things to kind of break down on that. One is that within that Elon Musk example, I think that's a phenomenal example because Elon's, if I recall correctly, his original mandate was let's automate all of this. Let's use robots to kind of do the entire assembly line because that sounds automation, right? It sounds more efficient. It sounds better.
Sounds
And then
correct.
after spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on these machines and fine tuning them, he then recognized that it was a problem and ripped it out. And like you said, put humans in to do that. And I think, and that's one of his, it ended up later in the book. I think he talks about this is one of my core rules or principles that I make decisions by is don't automate things until it works or something to that effect, right? So don't automate until the process is proven. And then bring that kind of same framework over to what you're describing. The best experience is always going to be human plus AI or human plus technology, whatever you want to call it. But human plus is going to be better than a human, and it's going to be better than just AI or just technology. And that same framework can be applied to so many different aspects of your business. So again, with coming all the way back to Simple, taking things that people are currently doing and saying, whether it's AI or old software or APIs or just whatever, how can we enhance to make the net result better? Which comes all the way back to what you're saying is how can technology enable people to do more of what they love, do better, and then give them back that choice of saying, sure, if you want to be in full control, you can absolutely do that. But it's a choice if you want to do this. Whereas before, there was no choice.
Right. So to focus on their highest and best use. There are some people who want to micromanage and want to be, I don't want to say control freak in a negative connotation. It's just one of those like colloquial idioms in our culture, kind of like how people throw OCD around, even though it's not necessarily a diagnosis with how they're describing somebody's fastidious nature. Um,
Fastidious.
That fastidious.
Great.
I like that one. It's a good one. $5 word. I'll Venmo you.
Perfect.
We've definitely got a lot of examples for how there are achievements that you can get to where you've got such a proven process that you've earned the right to automate them, kind of like what you were saying with Elon, right? You've got examples that just aren't there yet. You've got examples where we're working with our real estate agents every day, right? We have these things called Serhant sessions where we get in the room with them and we brainstorm and they have their fingerprints all over this. Some of the recipes are named after certain people who came up with them, like sandwiches in a deli. They feel like they took part in building this because they did. We built it with their feedback and with their input. What would make your life easier? My advice to other companies would be to do the same thing. I see ivory tower decision making both happening in the news, happening through the grapevine in the industry at other companies, and also from previous parts of my career where you're not actually involving the people that you should in some of that planning and decision making, and then you end up wasting a lot of money and time.
I want to challenge you a bit on that because I agree. But if you are one of those organizations that's making kind of top down decisions, you're not incorporating people into the room that are actually the end stakeholders. Making that shift is saying, well, you should, right? You should actually incorporate that. You should be more agile. It's one thing to say it. How do you actually transform your organization? Say someone is a leader, they're listening to this, and they run a large organization and they have the ability to make some type of impact. What does that transition look like? How do you actually start doing more projects in this more agile way and get adoption and mind share within the organization to make that monumental shift?
It starts with your dominant, influential disc type personalities within your company being spoken with in a tough conversation with somebody who's got what my grandmother, who was a Yiddish teacher, would call chutzpah, um, or some other version of confidence, to be able to say it's time for you to have a relationship with yourself that's based on forgiveness. And that step one of that is forgiving yourself for not knowing everything, even though you're a very strongly instinctual person you are successful and you deserve to be in this chair. But there is something to be said for crowdsourcing good feedback without being defensive. If there's pushback from that, we're very fortunate that we have the most receptive leadership team ever. Like the best compliment I could ever give anybody in business is that they're receptive. Being closed-minded is the worst. That's who people don't want to work for. Somebody who's receptive means that they're fair, means that they're considerate, means that they have listening skills. When usually you think of that captain type, like Ryan's actually an IS. He's a harmonizer.
What's an
He's the
IS stand
CEO
for? Or
in the disc types of dominant, influential, steady, conscientious. Ryan's an IS harmonizer. Our president of our company is a DI driver captain type, right? Like you see that there's balance when you plot your people all over the disc chart. It starts with having that conversation with leadership that we don't necessarily have to take all the feedback that we get, but it's important that we have the input. It's also rare that your customers are inside your business. In a real estate company, we have kind of a really amazing privilege that our customers are inside the house. We share an email domain with the people that we're serving. That's pretty rare.
Can be very transparent with them.
Yeah, one of the reasons I get along with our customers so well is because I treat them like business partners and customers at the same time. I have figured out how to do that just by respecting their intelligence, admitting and owning when it's something that's on us to get better, and focusing on them being served the right way and getting to the solution of whatever's going on. So for any big company that's making that shift, it's about having that active respect mindset that not that the customer is always right, which by the way isn't the full phrase. There's more to it than that, but that the customer should have a voice. We see this happen all the time. Like probably the biggest industry it happens in is sports, where every fan thinks that they know the answer to their team's problems and what the management or the owner of the team should do so that the team can win, right? And they're called fans, which is short for fanatic. And therefore the team doesn't listen because these fucking fanatics don't know what they're talking about. We got a business to run over here. We're just pretending to want to win. Is like sports. In business, no, we actually have growth. We actually have standards. We actually need to support their growth. So it's more urgent. I think people need to shift their mindset into the urgency of understanding that if you incorporate that feedback and make people feel like they were part of something, you'll get better output from them. You'll get more tolerance when things don't go perfectly. You'll also probably get more effort from them rather than filling out passive surveys and different kinds of stuff. You're gonna get inspired participation, making people feel like they had their hands all over it. Like when you took the cover off of the Lisa, what did you see inside that Apple computer? Signatures. Signatures of all the people that worked on the computer were embedded in the plastic. That's beautiful. There's something really nice there.
I think it's so interesting that the first thing that you said was, again, if you want to be the agent of change, you need to get that stakeholder, get the the chutzpah, or you need the chutzpah to kind of have that tough conversation. But then you said, give them permission to forgive themselves. And I think that is very insightful because often there's so much insecurity that comes with kind of business and when you're a leader, you're expected to have the answers. You're expected to know what to do. You're expected to have the ideas for the solution. And that can become entrenched in your culture and in your ego and your identity in whatever role you are, CEO, CTO, whatever role it is. And so to start with saying, it's okay to not know. And in fact, it's actually better to have the forgiveness of accepting that you don't actually know what you're doing sometimes, and to have that open conversation. Kind of, again, you don't have to do anything that anyone says. You could still go with whatever your opinion is and whatever. But having that openness, recognizing that you don't necessarily know, crowdsourcing, bringing in those ideas from the people that are actually going to be paying you money or using your product or whatever it is, I think that's extremely insightful to the root of the problem that happens with these large siloed orgs.
Do you know why they call it? Why I think it's not like a factual empirical thing, but you know why I think they call having a business like treating it like it's your baby? I think it's because it's a lot like parenting. So I have two kids. I'm 37, and I have a 13-year-old who's about to go into high school in the fall, which is freaking wild. Okay. I have a daughter who's almost 5. And I can tell you that when you first start a business, when you first have a kid, there's no instruction manual. There's examples to follow, but you're just figuring it out and doing your best. And you're going to have a lot of sleepless nights and stress, and you're going to have way less money than you thought you were going to have to. And you're going to be having lots of arguments and disagreements and all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of screaming, yelling, crying, carrying on. And that was just my wife. I'm not even talking about the baby yet. Okay. But I really do think that there's an analogy there where you run into these moments where there's not a perfect instruction set of what to do, and your parental instincts take over and you fill in the blanks. And starting a business is exactly like that. You run into scenarios where you go with your gut. Your gut has just as many neurons as your brain. Like it really does think. It continues to operate after the body expires for quite a while. Going with your gut is a real thing because it has brain cells. You as a business, you start to fill in these gaps almost to a fault, especially when you find success. You start to fill in blanks when it's not required for you to fill in blanks because it's a learned behavior. You start to just connect those dots or make the bridges to different concepts that wasn't really forced upon you to do that, but people are looking to you to lead. It's out of order if you're not sure or not certain or not decisive, even if you've got talented people around you giving you the options. So yeah, having that relationship with yourself and others that's somewhat based on forgiveness, I think is very successful because there's no way that you can know everything. And something that people tend to admire about each other is when somebody admits that they don't know what they don't know. That's
Sounds
not a
simple.
bad thing. Yeah.
One of the things that you talked about of kind of filling in that expectation of having an answer. I think humans, maybe it's Western society, but I think it's all humans, can be so uncomfortable with silence, with stillness. And to not have an answer or to let a question sit out there where someone's seeking and looking for an answer or the direction or the path, your instinct is to kind of fill that void. It's to, it's this or that, or just to kind of blurt something out and to recognize that you don't need to actually speak and maybe say, I don't know. We don't know. Good question. We need to figure that out. And to be comfortable with that awkwardness and that emptiness, I think is a big aspect.
It's because you never stop being afraid of the dark when you grow up. You're afraid of a different dark. You stop being afraid of dark rooms and you start being afraid of the unknown.
Yeah.
But it's the same exact feeling. And there's no way to turn on a flashlight in business and to look ahead into the future with a bright light all of a sudden. Same emotion, same uncertainty. It's just that feeling we've all had since we were young of just of not knowing what's there because we just can't put our eyes on it.
To extend the metaphor, does it change as the baby grows up? I mean, Serhant is now however many years old you want to call it, right? Whether it's 4 or 10, but it's definitely not 1, right? So it's at a different stage. Mm-hmm. What is that like? Do you have more comfort in knowing that it will kind of find its way as an entity unto itself, or do you still feel that pull of, well, let me fill in the void and nope, got to resist and let's have open dialogue and kind of this kind of receptivity aspect?
I think because of there's 2 answers to that. The short one is I'm extremely confident in our ability to survive whatever comes at us and to be successful in the vast majority of the endeavors that we embark on. For several reasons. We're definitely, we have a couple of things that most people don't have. We are the world's most followed real estate brand at more than 7 million total followers across platforms. We have a celebrity CEO who worked his ass off, blood, sweat, and tears for every ounce of everything he's ever earned. From having, his debit card didn't go through for a transaction buying strawberry yogurt in 2007 because he was that broke trying to make an acting career in New York City. Got into real estate the day that Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy, as if that was a good idea. We started this brokerage during the peak of COVID in New York City, after the Floyd protests. I mean, everything that has ever been done was back against the wall. And just like Logan on Succession, I've never seen Ryan Serhant get fucked. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be fine. We have a great assemblage of people to be able to succeed in different ways. We're diverse across revenue streams. We have our education business, all different kinds of things. But I will also say that being in real estate, being in any kind of financial instrument industry, right? Whether you're in mortgages, whether you're in stocks, whether you're in banking and different kinds of stuff, we're somewhat we're influenced by factors outside of our control frequently. Consumer digital psychology, interest rates, consumer confidence, um, different kinds of housing trends, things like that, shortages, availability of building materials, a whole bunch of different things influence whether it's feast or famine for us. It's about how you respond to those changing winds and those changing waters. A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. And I think that there's something to be said for the fact that we keep on setting sail when those waters are choppy as fuck. And I think that's made us really, really skilled sailors at navigating whatever the market trends are and whatever the moment is. Because sometimes we have a great idea and we execute on it flawlessly, and we're very proud of ourselves, and so is the rest of the world. And then just last week, we had a great idea for something new, and we actually exercised restraint. And we said, you know what? Q3, because of where we are with our goals and different aspects right now. So it's also self-control. So yeah, confidence for the future. Adapt. Just be ready to adapt. Fail fast. Try everything that you possibly can. Whatever you come up with, make sure you surround yourself with people who are smarter than yourself. That's why I'm talking to you, because you wanted to surround. I'm kidding. Vice versa. I'm kidding. No, surround yourself with people that you respect and that make you feel like you're learning something from them all the time. You're going to have complementary skill sets. Very important. The bridge of the Enterprise had one Kirk and one Spock and one. You didn't have a bridge full of Kirks. It wouldn't work. Spock taught me how to be curious, how to admit that I don't know something, to endlessly try to pursue truth. That it's important to have diversity of opinion, mindset, all different kinds. The word diversity means a lot of different things. But if you've got that, if you've got trust and openness, honesty and integrity among your team, which I believe very, very much that we have, I think we'll survive anything. We're going to the mountaintop, baby. That's it. Yeah.
I love it. What role has personal branding played in all of this? I mean, like you said, the most followed real estate agent and real estate brand out there. Ryan's been building his brand for a very long while. You've been up front and close and next to it for such a long period of time as well. Is this something that more companies should do? What's the impact of that? Obviously, there's the team, there's diversity, there's tenacity, there's resiliency, there's openness, but then there's also this kind of weapon or asset of being public, right? Having a public face while doing it. How much does that come into the strategy and the business building empire that you guys have created so far?
The two questions that you asked, which is should more businesses be doing it, and kind of how has it affected us, and why do we consider it important in terms of what it's done for us? All businesses should be doing it. Four Seasons Landscaping has done a pretty good job of marketing themselves the last few years. That's been hysterical. Talk about
I don't know this. What is this?
Remember when it was Giuliani booked a speech like 4 years ago or 5 years ago? They had to give like a quick speech, so they Googled Four Seasons in Philadelphia, and they meant to call the hotel, and they accidentally called a landscaping company called Four Seasons Landscaping, and they just went with it and acted like it was totally normal, like they set up a press conference in front of the Four Seasons Landscaping Company that was in a bad neighborhood across from a gentleman's club, and they just went with it.
That's
and
awesome.
The landscaping company has been famous ever since. You Google Four Seasons Landscaping, they have merch. It's a tourist attraction. People take photos in front of it now. My email signature, Nerdy Regards. We've been on email threads together before.
Yep.
I changed it to Nerdy Regards 20 years ago when it randomly came to me. And now it's on t-shirts that we sell. Because that's my people associate. The first time I might say, Elijah, great to talk to you. Great to be introduced to you. Great to meet you. Great to meet you, Elijah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, totally not tired. And, and people notice the first thing they say is like, oh man, by the way, love the email signature. Tells you so much about me, even if I wasn't silly. You can see that I don't take myself too seriously. You can see that I like to, express and lean into my nerdiness and the tech stuff. It's a bold choice. Most people wouldn't do that. It's like
especially in the
not
corporate
taking,
world. And yeah,
especially people need to be bolder about taking risks. Ryan did that. He leaned into every aspect of himself that he possibly could that was about his brand, which was he was determined to become the $1 billion broker. He was determined to make sure that he was working with high net worth individuals and that he was, the go-to for as many people as he possibly could, to sell bigger and better and faster and to double every year. And, yeah, the TV show definitely helped amplify it, but it didn't give him a lot of business ever. It was something that was a good reinforcement for SEO and for when people looked into him. And some people definitely were like, oh yeah, I recognize this guy from here or there. But every business should be branding. So many people who work at Serhant either have a podcast or they're an artist and do something else on the side for their hobby or whatever. I own t-shirts that are from brands that like 3 of our creative staff run. They have art shows. We had somebody on staff for a while who was in drag shows and we all used to go. Like, there's all different ways that you can be branding yourself and that you can be really standing out because that's going to sell when you're in your sleep. Elijah, we have spent $0 on leads. Ryan has spent $0 on leads in his career. A lot of real estate agents, a lot of real estate companies are just like, oh yeah, this is how I do lead gen. We pay for ads, we pay for this, blah, blah, blah. Maybe for a new development, we'll take out some Google ads because a developer we're working with wants the efficacy of knowing that it's being promoted, big new thing in Brooklyn or something with Central Park Tower, different kinds of things like that. But no, a brand is something that sells when you're not even doing anything. I got our latest SEO report today. It was organic is still our best traffic for all the search terms. Wow. It's crazy. So yeah, I think it helps everybody. You make sure to be consistent. Make sure that you're thoughtful about your content and that you're trying to bring value to people. There's plenty of people that have a following and I believe will depreciate over time because eventually Charlie D'Amelia's joints are going to end up where she can't dance as snappy over time. You know what I'm saying? Wisdom usually wins out if you've got something that's really valuable to offer to your customers. Brand has helped us a lot. It's become synonymous with luxury in a big way. Quality, like people know when they work with us, they're getting like Cell Team 6 as far as that we're going to make sure that this is an incredible, incredible experience for you. You as a client are going to feel like the center of the universe, whether you're on the buy side, the sell side, you're renting, you're investing, it's a very, very powerful tool. Any business can find a way. If I can build a brand off of an email signature, I don't care who you are. You can build a brand off of something.
We'll have links to Nerdy Regards shirts maybe in link below. Go buy your I'm gonna go buy a shirt. I think your re-emphasis on brand beyond just personal brand. We hear personal brand and we think of influencer, we think of kind of having your face in front of things. But that is ultimately what you're doing. You are building a brand. It's a brand of self. It's not building the Coca-Cola brand from the 1940s, but you are building a brand that represents who you are, and then you're communicating that to the world. And then to your point as well, if you create value and you are consistent in it, that equates to authentic, right? You are an authentic brand because you have years and years of proof showing this is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is what I will represent in all my business dealings. And if you are inauthentic, one tiny thing at some point in that trajectory, it will be very apparent. So don't be anything but what you are, because otherwise it's a sham and it's a house of cards, and at some point it will cascade down.
Yeah. What part of somebody's brain do you want to occupy? Think about that. What do you want to be like word association games? What do you want people to think of when they think of your brand? How do you want
when
them
you
to
ask
feel?
ChatGPT about person X, what do you want it to spout out as a collection of the internet ratings? Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think Leonardo DiCaprio thinks his best movie of all time was? Or De Niro or anybody else. Like,
yeah,
it's what are you known for? You don't always get to pick. So if you're a business that doesn't yet have a well-known brand, you're very fortunate that you still get to pick. Ryan didn't necessarily choose to go gray in high school. but he's a young man with very gray hair. He leans into it. He makes
He
jokes
owns it.
about himself. You know, it's incorporated into different kinds of things. He owns it. Exactly right. You know, he just wants people to feel like they're not going to lose if they've got him on their side, and he's achieved that for sure. Company has.
Quite, I feel like we could go on for hours and hours and hours, and I think we probably should whenever I meet you in person and grab some beers. But for those of us listening, we'll wrap it up here. Coyne, if people want to like buy a shirt or find out more about you or Serhant, obviously, I think that's pretty easy to find out. But if they want to connect with you specifically, where should they go? How should they reach out?
You can find me at Ryan J Coyne on IG. I'm also Ryan J Coyne on LinkedIn. You want to keep it profesh. And you can go to shop.serhant.com to find all of our awesome merch that our creative team puts together, including Nerdy Regards shirt in white, heather gray, and royal blue in all sizes down to
Color
kids.
classes. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Elijah, for having me. It was a great conversation. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Nerdy regards. We're out.